bad when Mateo thinks I'm wearing your shirt.
Yeah, why are you dressed like Daddy?
That's not, I'm like, whatever.
Because Mommy usually wears blouses. Daddy wears cool clothes. All right, so it's Friday Live. I'm Mark.
I'm Nicole.
And we are here to talk a little bit about woodworking and a lot of bit about food.
Yeah.
And dog poop.
No,
and other
no
stuff.
more dog poop.
Okay.
We'll talk about food.
Yeah.
So if you're new, we hang out on Fridays, every Friday. Actually, next week we're going to do a PM show because we hit the goal.
Oh boy.
So
PM shows are fun.
Yeah, PM show next Friday. But usually it's in the morning. So.
And when she's referring to goals, we're talking about over at Patreon. Patreon.com/Wood Whisperer, if you want to check that out. And we have some pre-selected questions from patrons. We have some stuff that people send us, which is always nice to show off some stuff. And I'll answer your questions as best I can.
So Ness is in the chat room. Hi, Ness. And I'm looking at the YouTube chat room. I'll try to check Facebook from time to time.
My thingy broke.
Oh, well.
That has never happened before.
But Ness, I got your package. And Mark, you are stocked up.
Hooked us up with some goodies. So check this out.
She is very concerned.
Am I getting too thin?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
She says, "Hi, dear Mark."
Oh
and Nicole.
no, they have a mint Tim Tam.
Oh, you did it.
Yeah, mint and mint chocolate stuff like grasshoppers and what do you call the Girl Scout cookies?
Girl Scout cookies.
The thin mints. Oh, those are my weakness.
She says, "I hope you're doing well. I've really enjoyed supporting you on your journey and getting to know you better. I wasn't able to send these goodies in time for Christmas, so since October is still at least 9 months away, I thought you might like a visit from the Tim Tam Fairy."
Oh my gosh.
I also included some stuff from Mateo and Ava. Hope you like the fun coasters, and I felt Mark's bench needed some protection from your coffees during live, so there's some coasters in there.
Nice.
Oh, you will also find a dinner voucher inside. I'm not sure how long you'll be here in Australia. But if you have time, I would be honored to take you out for a meal.
Well, we're going to have to try to make that work.
We will.
I mean, how often are we going to be in Australia? It's not going to happen that often.
I'm still going, how are we going to make this happen?
How are we even going to do it in the first place? I don't know.
I don't know
Well,
either.
thank you, Ness. That's really sweet of you. Totally appreciate that. And you want to get to some questions?
Yeah, we can do that.
Now, I got some great questions about sharpening from two people, in fact, Yoso and Josh. I want to give that topic a little bit more time, and I really...
Some more meat.
Yeah, I've got an old video on it. It's like this. It's a live video, but it was when we used to use the webcam.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really bad, and I really want to spend time showing people the setup and what I do. To do that, I need to be a little more prepared than I am today because of the whole book thing. If you haven't heard, I'm writing my next book, which means... It's actually not very much writing. It's mostly sitting in the shop and doing joinery and making things like this. Here, Nicole, I made you a thing.
Oh, thank you.
And then look, I made you another thing.
Oh, wow.
So this is the more advanced stuff.
I was going to say, that one looks a little bit more angled. This one's more straight.
They're angled in two different ways. So this is an angled mortise and tenon joint. You could see it. This would be like a bench or something. Yeah. Can you imagine a bench sitting at about 10 degrees like this?
That's nice.
And here's the apron going in at an angle. On this one, it's also angled, but it's a miter angle. So you could see the flat of this leg, and this guy goes like this. So maybe think of a chair. So the chair seat might go at an angle like this, and this would be the chair leg. So that's some of the more advanced stuff that we're doing, but this is knocking me on my butt.
Let me just tell you, when he wrote hybrid woodworking, I pretty much had to disappear with Mateo for 3 months straight.
Yeah, I would go to the diner and sit there with my laptop. Yeah. It's rough. I guess writing doesn't really come all that naturally to me, and it really is something that I have to spend a lot of time and just focus on. So it's at the expense of just about everything else. So.
I liken it to when you do programming. So any programmers out there, you kind of get in that zone.
You're in the zone.
And you're just working on that code.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
That said, follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because I'm posting a lot of the pictures that I've taken, and I'm kind of getting better with the camera. I had a quick FaceTime last night with Anne of all trades. Yeah. Because she saw my picture, and she's like, "That's okay, but it could not suck if you do this trick." So, all right, she didn't say it that way, but she gave me some pointers.
I like to think that she did.
She probably will. Once she gets to know me a little better, she will probably begin insulting me. But yeah, she gave me some great tips, and I'm learning. You know, it's a whole new thing for me, still photography. But enough about that crap. Let's talk about woodworking stuff.
Let's talk about some woodwork. Let's talk about woodworking.
That's terrible.
I know.
Okay, Joe Braga says, finishing question for you. I found a commercial furniture company that claims to use a wood tone enhancer. There would actually only be one set of quotes for that, because you're doing both at the same time.
Yeah.
Wood tone enhancer, where are we? Underneath their lacquer finish, Googling wood tone enhancer produces almost nothing. Have you ever heard of this? Okay, well that's basically BS marketing lingo. Probably, my best guess, is toner. All right, there is a product called toner. Don't look up wood tone enhancer. Look up toners. Basically, toner is a stain or dye typically put into a lacquer finish or some sort of quick evaporating finish. You could do it with shellac as well. And that just puts a little bit of color in there so that if you are layering that on top, you're not staining the wood per se. They're technically accurate in that you are layering a little bit of color over the wood. And that tends to just kind of even things out. So if there's any variability, sapwood and heartwood, you could even that out with toner. All right, so you could buy toner in spray cans. You go to the paint store, you could probably find some toner there, or you could make your own. All right, just get some lacquer, and you could probably use trans tint dye. There's different dye concentrates that you could put in there, and that'll do the trick. So that's what that is. And when they say they don't stain, it's a little disingenuous because it makes it sound like, oh, they don't do anything to they just enhance it. Well, they're still putting color on the surface. It's actually, in my opinion, not as good as stain, because stain goes into the wood and the color is deep in the wood fibers, whereas toner is purely in the finish. You scratch through that finish and now you're going to see the actual color of the wood.
Nick Verbrie, he's laid up from surgery right now.
Oh, no.
He's watching us. And we hope we're making your day better.
Well, if he's high on painkillers, it's going to be a really good show.
Yeah.
Can I have some? All right. Oh, and then Joe adds to that question, alternatively, what is the skinny on rubbing in a coat of oil and then spraying lacquer over top? I'm drawn to the ease of spraying lacquer, but it doesn't leave the wood with a rich tone like oil or a wiping varnish does. I thought maybe an oil under lacquer could be the best of both worlds. It is, and can be. If you really see a difference with an oiled surface versus non-oiled, then absolutely you could do that. The key is to make sure that that surface is cured. If you apply the lacquer a little bit too soon and that oil is still kind of going through its initial curing process, you could have trouble. So you want to at least give it a few days, maybe even a week. Some people might give it more, but I think a week should be adequate. But you got to give that oil enough time to cure up.
I got a super chat from Peter. He says, I just wanted to say I used the Wood Whisperer thread taps to put aprons on my workbench, and they worked amazingly well. Rock maple wood, and even worked perfectly on an end grain.
Oh, great.
He did super chat, and he says, the money is to keep Nicole out of jail.
Yes. She is on the other side of the law these days.
No, I'm not.
So just in case anyone doesn't know this, the Wood Whisperer thread taps are on their way to just being thread taps.
Yep.
And they are owned by Eagle America now. So we basically transferred ownership.
So if you're looking for them, head over to eagleamerica.com.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they're gonna, until they get rid of the stock that I produced, which has my name on it, they'll probably continue calling it Wood Whisperer thread taps, but they will transition out of that.
But they are the same thing.
The same thing, sole supplier, same manufacturer, it's just they're handling everything. And they are working with Andy, so this is still something that benefits Andy as well. Okay, Jason wrote in. He says, my question today is about carrying your plans from the computer to the shop. This is really interesting. I'm a SketchUp user and have tried a couple of different methods. I've done dimension drawings and cut lists to print out, brought a computer to the shop to work with the original files. I've also been curious about SketchUp Viewer app on the iPad. What's worked for you? When you make a plan change on the fly, do you go and update your SketchUp files? Okay, well, what I do is a little bit different because I typically have to communicate my stuff to other people. So if I were just building for myself, if there are minor details that I've added to things, I may not go back to a SketchUp file and add them. When I'm building for the guild or building a project on the free site, I have to get those details accurate. So I'll go, by the time I'm in the building phase, typically I have someone else helping me with those details because I'm not that great at the SketchUp details. So Brian Benham does all the work for me, and I'll email him and say, hey, I added these 2 or 3 things. Can you make sure that the file includes those? So he will do that for me. But when I'm building for myself, I typically do have at least some kind of a SketchUp file that I'm playing with. I use that to work out, you know, proportions and things like that. Some of the bigger picture things, joinery can be worked out very well in SketchUp. And then I actually work best from paper. So I will print out different views. Paper. Have you ever seen such paper? I typically print out at least, you know, all the views I'm probably going to need of various parts, and then I'll actually add the dimensions to them. And I just find it easier because in the shop, a lot of times it's like, oh wait, what am I doing here? And I'm going to scribble on it. It's a lot harder to do that if you're working with a tablet or a computer. So all that, you know, newer tech is really nice in theory, and it gets you to a certain point. But at some point...
Are you still using that Ever whatever notebook?
I am not using that.
Really?
Here's the update on that. So you guys know that Evernote notebook?
I don't know.
It's so good. It's so cool in theory, but you really have to be dedicated to using it. And I love pencils. And it is an ink system. So as much as I thought I would use it, and a lot of people, I think, when I talked about that, were like, I don't think this is really going to be a long-term solution for you. And they were right. So... And I think a more organized type A personality might be better at it than I am.
You're not type A?
I am on some things.
Okay.
But some things I'm like type F. Right?
Z.
So I'm type Z. So I just kind of prefer that pencil paper thing, and that goes back to the plans. So yeah, sketch up for a certain point, but then I'm eventually going to be with paper, pencil, and taking notes.
You know why I think it is? When you were, you know, a wee lad.
Yes?
You wanted to be an architect.
I did.
I think I still have some of Marc's original, like, architect drawing. Like,
Yeah.
You got your little graph and the paper. You probably...
I did that for a school project.
Yeah.
I basically measured my entire house, in my little tiny house in Trenton, New Jersey, and you know, made a whole diagram of it as a project. I got an A.
Yeah.
I did very well.
Overachiever.
So yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just a generational thing, but until it becomes very easy to take notes and I don't have to rely on a special pencil whose battery is going to die at some point and then I have to charge it up, it's like, is there anything easier than a pencil in your apron and a piece of paper? Okay, so Aaron, our good buddy Aaron Gill, trademark.
Every time I see his name, I'm like, is that a fake thing? But I think it really is his name.
That's really his name. He's going to hear from our lawyers. Given it's been more than 5 years now with the Ruobo, besides staining the top and adding a power strip to the middle, is there anything that you would have done differently? Do you have plans for any other additions or changes in the future? Well, I'm probably going to add a tool chest. I don't think I would do anything as far as the major components on it. I don't think I would do anything differently. But the great thing about a Ruobo is it's kind of like a blank slate. You could add stuff to it and add extra vices, put a Moxon vise on there. Maybe you want a pattern maker's vise. You know, there's so many things you could do with it if you wanted to. So I'm pretty happy with it where it is as a hybrid woodworker. It seems to work very, very well for me. Adding that power strip was cool. On this project, I've been using that a lot. Nicole can use it if she needs to charge her laptop. Router can plug into it. Like it's really handy to have a power strip there. But the tool chest is probably the next thing I'm going to do. I would like to have, you know, storage for rasps. And I mean, I've got my chisels on the wall, but it'd be nice to have a secondary storage area. And other people may prefer to store them there instead of the wall. So
Peter just said, "Where's your Kalo ring?" Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, where is your ring?"
I don't know.
Did it break?
I must have taken it off.
Or
because it's rubber, when you wash your hands, sometimes the water gets under there and it just gets annoying.
Yeah.
So I might be like editing video and I'll take it off. So it's probably sitting on my desk.
Just making sure.
We are still married, don't worry.
Should I take
I know
I'll take mine off.
I know you need that symbol to feel comfortable. Look, I mean, I understand. You just want the other ladies out there to know that I'm not available.
Oh, they know.
Okay. John Schmidt says, is there anything special you have to do with West Systems Epoxy to use it as a top coat? He says he doesn't want to ask on Wood Talk because he's afraid he'll be shunned. I don't know why. So he says it's for a table that's going to see a lot of abuse. There's a new local burger joint that looks like the tables are finished that way. And I've been trying to research online, and I keep seeing things about UV protection. Does it need sunscreen? Okay, so basically he's looking at epoxy. I don't know that West Systems is what you would want to use for a top coat. I like West Systems as an adhesive. I know you can use it for top coating tasks and things like that, but there are a couple of companies who kind of really specialize in a pourable epoxy formula that I think might be better, maybe even more cost effective or you know, even better for you and the environment. So companies like Ecopoxy, they've got a formula that if I had a need for it, that's the one I would probably try first. And that is that sort of pourable epoxy finish. So look into that. Look into epoxies that are actually intended as finishes. And who knows, they might have some additives in there. I think what you're referring to with the UV is that UV can break down the epoxy. So interior, I don't know that that's such a big deal. If it was exterior, maybe you have a problem. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, but one that's intended as a top coat could very well have additives in there that will help with that. I don't know for sure. But check out Epoxy. I think that's a good brand to investigate. Got quite a few more, so if you want to interject.
I do. Had somebody ask about the Oneida winner. If you go to the woodwhisperer.com/past-winners, you'll always see all of the winners of our past giveaways. So I just wanted to send a congratulations out to John S. He lives in Tennessee. He won the Oneida dust collector.
Ooh, the Dust Gorilla?
Yep, Dust Gorilla Pro.
Ooh, bam.
Yeah, big thing.
I actually just cleaned mine out again the other day.
Well, yeah, I know. It was
talking,
all over the place. You got my car dirty.
I did.
Everything.
I really made a
my
mess.
God, it was...
So I got neighbor Jim on this side and neighbor Alan on the other side, and really good people.
Yeah.
Problem is, my garage faces Alan's house. So if I'm blowing out my filter stack, I get really nervous because a lot of the dust is I kind of wait for the wind to take it into the cul-de-sac. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Haboob.
Yeah, hopefully I've made my own Phoenix haboob over here. But Jim was like, you should go in the backyard because there's an empty area with no houses behind us. Just take it in the backyard and blow it out there.
You're too lazy for that.
But that's like 30 feet. I got to carry this thing. That stack is heavy. So, yeah.
And there is a new giveaway since it is February, new month. Jet gave me they just released some new router kit. Yeah.
I saw that. And I saw Brad Rodriguez is in the ad for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you watch the ad for the router table,
right.
it's what they did with me as well. They're not calling out who the person is, but it's kind of an Easter egg if you recognize. So, yeah, so he's in there.
Yeah,
how cool is that?
It's a Jet router table, and it's the MDF one.
It's interesting that they're getting into router tables.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's a very interesting thing to me. And they've got a cast iron version too.
Do they? Well, there you go.
Which is really cool. Okay, so David Hunter says, not an actual woodworking question, but industry question. Are people who want real wood furniture essentially a niche market? And he goes on to say that that they were looking at furniture and he noticed that everything is pretty much at best veneer, that he's having trouble finding solid wood, and in their area, there's only one person that does solid wood furniture, and it's like everything he makes is thousands of dollars. So he's just kind of wondering, what went wrong? Like, why is this the case? I think this is a very broad topic, and it's a sort of an issue with society and progress and the way things generally go. There was a time where furniture was something that you had for a lifetime, right? You know, a new couple would get married, and you know, maybe as a wedding gift, someone would buy them a bedroom set. You know, my mom did that for us, right? When we got married, we got that bedroom set.
Yeah, the sleigh bed.
Yeah, and it's something that you would have for the rest of your marriage. You know, so typically 5 years.
Terrible.
This is how things go, Nicole. I cannot. It's not my fault that people get divorced.
How long have you been married?
Well over 5 years. Okay. We made it, Nicole. We made it.
We made it.
So I think the thing is, as time went on, people always want things to be cheaper. And companies want to satisfy that need to make things cheaper. So they use materials that don't cost as much. Quality goes down, but if it serves the purpose, it's fine. This also seemed to coincide with people's lack of desire to have furniture forever, right? People want to change things. They want a different style. They want to move things around. So combine cheaper, less expensive, crappier materials, and the fact that they don't need to last 20 years, you have the perfect storm for things to get kind of crappier, right? So there's nothing we could really do about it other than try to continue to put great quality furniture out there and try to make as many people aware of its benefits. And really the investment, factor. If you get a good piece of quality furniture that isn't too far out in some weird exotic look, it doesn't really scream any particular crazy style, it may never really go out of style, right? I mean, it's something that you could keep in as, one of your furnishings for a long time. So I think it's education. We just have to get more and more people to understand that bookcase they just spent $500 on is actually made of crap. It's not as good as they think it is. Just because they bought it from Ethan Allen doesn't mean it's actually a good piece of furniture.
I got a couple super chats. Our friend Benjamin Ackenberg says, Ackenberg. My weekly contribution to ensure Nicole stays out of jail, and thank you for everything you do for us to help our sanities. I'm not going to jail. It's okay. You don't have to.
That's a lot of responsibility for me.
And Jeremy Combs, you did a super chat, but I don't see a comment, and I looked in the chat and I didn't see a chat, so I'll keep looking in the main chat for you.
Mike Davies wants to know if you ever remounted and returned that bowl that I fixed for you.
Yeah. Oh, no, I haven't done that yet. I need to do that.
You do. Well, her arm is preventing her from...
Yeah, my arm. So I'm finally in physical therapy. My spine doctor has cleared me for that. So I finally got to...
But he's still pushing for surgery.
Well, yeah, he's still pushing for surgery because that's about... I mean, I can do that, but I can't... That's all I can do. And that's hard.
Yeah.
I'm gimped up.
Okay.
I can't even turn right.
Yeah.
Which is why I went left the other day.
Oh, of course it is. Did you tell the cop that?
I should have.
I swear it was my arm. Okay. Vivek says, long question. I've got a couple of hand planes. I bought them from the hardware store. They're pretty terrible. Can't seem to get the parts to the sole flap. Blah, 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 blah.
Sole flap?
No offense. No, not sole flat. Not sole flap.
What's a sole flap?
Okay, that said, I'd like to get 3 or 4 planes. I'll also buy some specialty planes later. So he says he sees scrub planes, smoothing planes, bench planes, jack planes, 4 planes, and jointer planes. And I'm trying to make this a little bit shorter. So he has a jointer and a planer, and he's trying to get specific tools. Now, there's really 2 ways that you could approach acquiring these hand tools, right? If you continue to use your planer and jointer, there's a lot of the planes, even ones I have here on the wall, that you sort of negate the need for those. You don't really need them because you're going to be doing so much of that work with other tools. So you want to focus on more of your specialty hand planes. Maybe get a smoothing plane, a block plane, then you get into your shoulder plane, your router plane, things like that. That's the way that I would work because I have no desire to flatten boards by hand. I've got better things to do with my time, like bail my wife out of jail.
Shut up!
Well, I didn't start this rumor.
I know. I don't know why.
So I don't know exactly where Vivek really wants to be. If you have those tools there, you know, you have to think about the future. Are you really going to want to hand plane all of these boards, or you could just want to use the tools that are already there? My buddy Shannon, he's got a planer because ultimately when time matters and he doesn't he's got a day job, he doesn't have as much time to spend, you know, milling boards by hand. So why not utilize the planer? Maybe mill one side flat, then throw it through the planer. But if you're really going for the pure enjoyment of it and you truly enjoy that hand tool stuff, yes, you are going to need that complement of hand planes to get through. Now I'm going to simplify things as much as possible, and then I'm going to refer you to a couple of pieces of content from Shannon, right? And that will give you a little bit more information. So I'm going to tilt the camera down to do this.
Just a side note, I love everybody's like commenting on what I should do, therapy, chiropractic, surgery. Everybody has an opinion.
Everyone has an opinion.
It's okay.
Well, everyone wants to help, Nicole.
I know. Oh, I know.
Don't begrudge it.
I'm not.
They're just trying to be helpful. Sometimes you're so mean-spirited.
You're an ass.
Okay, so I'm going to bring a couple of planes out here for you to enjoy. Boom, baby.
Oh, I already got that one.
Boom, baby.
Aw.
Boom, baby. So I think the best explanation of hand planes, their use, what they do, ignore the names for now, right? You could research those and you can get into that later if you need to. The easiest way to think of this is what Chris Schwarz had referred to in his DVD, coarse, medium, fine. All right, and this extends to other types of woodworking, not just hand tools. We typically have a rough process where we get everything, you know, mostly flat, we're cleaning it up, and then you have your medium process where you're putting nice flat square edges on everything, and then your fine process, which is the finish sanding, scraping, getting it ready for finish. Hand planes work the same way. So I don't quite have, because you know this is the set of tools that I use, so I don't have everything to represent this coarse, medium, fine stuff. So let's pretend a little bit, okay? This is a jack plane. All right, I like the jack plane because it does a lot of things. You could use it for, you know, as the name suggests, it's a jack of all trades. It slices, dices, and it even juliennes, Nicole.
Good.
So it's a good all-around plane for flattening, for smoothing. You could do a lot with it. What I'm going to do is pretend that this is What the heck do you call that one? I always forget is it the plow plane? No, that's a joinery plane. It's the
push plane.
Shoot, I can't remember.
Flat
Someone's
plane?
going to say it's the one for roughing. It's usually got a
Rough
very
plane.
heavily. Thanks, Nicole. A very heavily cambered blade on it. Oh, I can't believe I'm spacing on that. Someone's gonna scrub plane. Thank you,
Frank.
My goodness, thank you, Frank. Some days, Nicole. So a scrub plane is going to be fairly narrow. It's going to have a very heavy-duty blade in there, and that is for thicknessing, basically. So you have a big board, it's all rough, and you're going to go at it like crazy. That is your coarse work. That is a plane I have no use for whatsoever. That's why you don't see it here. So that's why I'm pretending this is my scrub plane, because I have a jointer and a planer, which suffice for that. Yeah, use your imagination. All right, so your scrub plane for that initial surfacing and thicknessing. Then you go into your medium, which is basically your jointer planes. Okay, so this is a number 7. There's a number 8 as well. And notice the big sole on this. It's huge. It's a little aircraft carrier. The reason is with all that reference surface, the only way this blade is going to cut is if that surface is truly flat, right? So this giant reference surface allows you to do just that, is to flatten long boards, flatten edges, you know, big tabletops, things like that. So this is your medium part of the process. And then your fine comes down to your smoothing plane. So really any smoother, whatever works for you. This is a low angle smoother that I really like from Lee Nielsen. There's a couple different varieties, but in each of these you might find variations. Like I said, there's a 7 and an 8, right? You've got, what is it, the number 4 and number 5. This is a number 164. There's a lot of different ways to smooth. I don't want you to focus too much on those. I just focus on these 3 categories, and then no matter what you get within those categories, you'll probably have success. So take your time and think, once you break it down, that should make it a lot easier to understand what each of these planes do. All right, and I'm gonna recommend that you go see, I'm gonna put these links, they're not easy links, but I'm gonna put the links in the show notes to Shannon's video on beginning hand tool kit. You can find that on YouTube. Frankly, if you just search Renaissance beginning hand tool kit, you'll find it. And also he has an article called A Real World List of Hand Tools for Getting Started. And I think Shannon will steer you in the right direction.
Michael Lusk, you said you did super chat and you didn't have a place to put the question, so just drop it into the main chat.
Michael
Lusk. Jeremy Combs says, I wanted to catch up on back Patreon dues and say that I love the show, and Nicole's support has made this my favorite, besides your wealth of knowledge. Oh, thank you.
So it's all about Nicole. I see how it is.
It's usually all about you. I'm just here to wrangle you in.
Wrangle the chickens.
Wrangle the chickens.
Speaking of chickens, can I say how excited I am to be going to Seattle to play in Anne's petting zoo?
Yeah.
She posts all these pictures on Instagram.
All I hear is Anne.
She's got
Anne's great.
It's not Anne. It's her farm animals.
Oh, well,
she's got a llama.
Great.
She's got a tiny donkey.
I know. I follow her on Instagram too.
She's got there's a goat.
Yeah.
She
has like a little pony.
I'm really hoping.
She has a pony, right?
I don't know.
Little Shetland pony.
I don't know. If there is one, I will be riding it.
Or maybe it was a donkey.
I'm really curious though. I'm gonna have to ask her if she has anything that I can milk. I've always wanted to milk something.
Do not let him.
If I could milk a goat or a llama, I just want to milk something. It just looks like a fun process.
You gotta start from the top and squeeze down.
I'm gonna do it. You watch. Okay.
Ness G says, "Good day, Spags. Glad you liked your goodies. I like to give. Enjoy you lovely humans. Cheers.
Oh well, thank you, Ness.
We love you.
Have a good sleep.
Yes.
She's going to bed, I'm sure. That's it for my questions. Hopefully that'll help you out with the hand plane situation. And you know what? Go look up Coarse Medium Fine. It's a great DVD. I mean, I
feel like that should be like Coarse Medium Fine.
What, like a game?
Like a game,
Yeah.
like a hand game.
Rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Okay.
All right. We got a question, or we got just a comment from Papito Sandon.
Papito
Triple J Customs.
Sonido.
He said, just because.
Oh, well,
Just
thank
because.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Triple J Customs.
We appreciate that.
I think I have a question. We got another one from Vivek.
Vivek.
Vivek?
I just answered.
Oh, Vivek says, thanks, Mark. Still don't know if I'm going to get the Lie-Nielsen or the Veritas.
You can't lose on that proposition, my friend.
And if you are a guild member, you get a student discount with Lie-Nielsen, right?
Yes, Lie-Nielsen does have a discount. And, you know, most of my planes are Lie-Nielsen. Probably because I like consistency. And my first plane I got that was, you know, an upgraded one was a Lie-Nielsen, so I've stuck with that. But man, Veritas has some really great planes. They're up there with the quality. The cool thing about Veritas is they tend to put a different spin on it. There's a, you know, they take the old design and refine it a little bit. They make it, you know, something that gels with modern sensibilities and things we might want. Little creature comforts. Lie-Nielsen stays a little bit more true to the original form and just makes a, you know, top-notch version of it that is just a work of art to behold. So you can't lose with either company.
And if you do have questions and we're not answering them, feel free to still ask them in the chat room. There are a lot of knowledgeable people in the chat room.
Yes,
so,
more knowledgeable than I am. Frankly, they should be doing the show.
And you don't have to donate money to ask questions. What I do is I take questions when we start. So I have a little notebook or a little.
So let's take, my timer's up. Yeah. Let's take 5 more quick questions.
Okay. Ben Walker asked me a question at the top of the show. I'm newer to woodworking and was wondering if you could help me understand the differences between quartersawn lumber and flatsawn. Don't we have a video?
I'm sure.
I remember we did a video on this.
Yes.
I like the way quartersawn looks, but it's much more expensive. Why?
Okay, very quickly. Quartersawn it's a particular way of cutting the material from the log. It's a little more wasteful.
It's wasteful, right?
Yeah, you don't get as much yield out of it, which is why it's more expensive. Because of the way the growth rings work in a tree, flatsawn boards, here's a piece of MDF. I'm going to draw some lines on it. Whoop, 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 whoop. If you look at the end grain of a board, if you see the grain going this way, it could be arced a little bit, you know, curved. But as long as it's going this way, that's your plain sawn or flatsawn board. If you look at the end grain and it's, you know, vertical or mostly vertical, that's your quartersawn material. Your flatsawn material, its most noticeable expansion and contraction will occur across the grain this way, which is why you can't put a series of boards together and put a frame around it because it'll blow out the frame. If you go to quartersawn material, the grain's running the other way, so you don't have nearly as much expansion across the width of the board, which is why we like to use it when stability matters. So things like tabletops is a good example. So that's the primary difference. And if you can get quartersawn, like if everything was always quartersawn, I'd probably work with it. You got to keep in mind though, when you do quarter saw, you tend to lose certain aspects on the face. Now this may be good or bad. I can actually show you an example here with this stinking thing. So you see on this board of cherry, you've got this kind of wavy grain. You might see cathedral patterns, those V-shaped patterns. That's the face grain of a regular plain sawn or flat sawn board. But if you have something that is quarter sawn, or another term to look into is rift sawn, you actually have a much more straight grain effect right here, right? So this is actually more or less a rift sawn. You see the grain is on an angle. So each one of these faces is fairly straight. So if you don't like a very consistent straight grain like that, then quarter sawn is going to give you a face you're not totally happy with. So you got to think about that as well.
I would encourage you, if you haven't dove back into our archives on thewoodwhisperer.com.
We have a video for that.
It's an old video. It's one of the first, episode 4. It was done in 2006, so it's 11 years old.
Do I go over different saw
I searched for quarter sawn and types of cuts. Flat sawn, quarter sawn, rift sawn.
Hey, we have a video for that.
We have a video for that.
I thought of that in 2006.
Yes.
So that's good to know.
And if you have like a Fire TV or if you're on Amazon Prime, all the seasons. So this episode is, you can watch it on TV now.
It's pretty cool.
But you can also watch it on YouTube.
And you can see
the quality might be a little off on YouTube because this was uploaded in 2006.
And they don't let us re-upload and replace.
Yeah, so.
You can see some quality acting in that as well.
From me.
Nicole did great.
God.
Oh, it's all thanks to you.
I watch it. I go, oh God.
That's pretty good.
We also have a question from Michael Lusk. Router table. Do you? I'm guessing you have plans or a video on how to make a router table.
Nope.
Nope.
We don't have a video for that.
No.
I need a shirt that says that too, with a flap, so I can just kind of change it depending on whether we do or don't.
Yeah.
I've never made mine. There's nothing wrong with making it, but you know what? Some of the commercially available router tables are just so good and so easy. If you have more money than time, then you're better off just buying one.
Or you could go to the woodwhisperer.com/giveaway and put your name in. And
There you go. You got a jet router table coming.
I might be able to give you one.
But yeah, I don't have a video. Sorry.
Virginia Woodsmiths is in the market for a spray system. Been looking at the 4 or 5 stage HVLP like Fuji or Apollo. But what about the airless systems? I will be spraying mostly finished, but have a bunch of latex in the future.
Airless is good for latex, and some of the newer airless claims to be able to do clear finishes as well. I had a couple that came into the shop for review, and I had trouble with them. They were great for paint, but I really did have difficulty getting the kind of finish I get out of my HVLP systems with clear coats. So I'm still at this point, you know, you can go either way, and if you put enough time into it, you could probably finesse your finishes to work in both systems. But I think you have to side with whatever you're going to do the most of. And if you're going to do the most clear stains and finishes, clear stains. Stains and clear finishes, you probably want to stick with the HVLP system. And if you think you're going to be doing a lot of latex and that's going to be the bulk of what you do, you probably want to look into the higher grade airless systems that claim to also be able to do finishes.
C. Victory says, I have a question about Japanese chisels with the hollow grind on the back. Don't you eventually grind into the hollow and ruin the chisel edge?
I guess someone at some point may do that. He's talking about the hollows on the back here. What happens though, as you remove material from the bevel, you start to slowly but surely work your way back to these hollows. And what he's talking about is at the point where that tip meets the hollows and you no longer have a nice straight edge on the front. But what you're also doing as you're working with this is you're flattening the back periodically. So if that happens, you should be able to just flatten the back a little bit more, and that'll create a little bit more space at the front here. Now, eventually, you could remove so much material from flat honing that you eliminate these grooves altogether. And by that time, you're going to be 150 years old, and you probably can't pick up a chisel anyway.
Robert says the wood shopping video from your earlier days shows you're easily Hollywood material.
Well, I mean, we probably picked the wrong line of work, Nicole. So. I think we should move to LA.
I think, no.
And really start to make some money.
Jeremy Ridgely, I'm just going to ignore you, says,
so like every other.
My coworker has begun installing a rather large dust collection system, is looking for a big hopper to put under the cyclone. Is the suction under the cyclone too much for plastic? It would be somewhat comparable to your system, maybe a little bigger. Don't you use plastic bags?
My brain sometimes just goes off on a tangent. You said big hopper, I started thinking of Stranger Things. That guy's name is Hopper, and he's kind of big.
Yeah.
He's the big hopper.
That's a great show.
Yeah. What did he ask?
About the hopper underneath.
Okay.
To put under the cyclone. So like yours
you know what? I don't know, because I've never put a plastic thing there. They have fiber drums that are used as collection bins for a cyclone. Those don't collapse.
Because you have a metal one, but you put plastic bag in it.
It's a metal drum with a plastic bag and an insert that holds the bag down. I don't really know at what point it starts to give.
Yeah.
I know I had a little mini cyclone. I did that review on the, what was it? I think it was the Oneida? Or the Clearview?
I don't know.
One of them collapsed the bucket, right? So it can happen, but I don't know at what point that would happen with a large dust collection system.
It was the Clearview that did that.
Was it the Clearview that collapsed?
Yeah.
So yeah, it can happen, but again,
they fixed it.
On those systems, I'm not really sure at what point that's going to occur.
No, they said the dust
deputy. It was the dust deputy because the Clearview wasn't sucking very well.
It's so sucky.
Yeah, they gimped the design for legal reasons, and then finally came out with one that actually works well.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Okay, we're good?
I think we're good. I mean, there are questions in the chat room, but
let's go get some Chinese for lunch.
Well, that sounds good.
Right?
Yeah.
I gotta write a book. Never mind. Teased you. What else? Anything else?
You want to thank the patrons?
Oh yes, let's thank some patrons. Yeah. So I mean, seriously, guys, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, Instagram is the place to go. I do cross-post everything to Twitter and Facebook as well, but I just love Instagram now. I spend most of my time there. And most of the time I'm on the toilet when I'm sending those things out. So if you want to follow what's going on with this book, get some sneak previews of what's happening with the book, watch me fiddle with photography, learning my way through the world of photography, that's where you can do it. Okay, here we go. Joe Braga, Chris Hyde, Vivek Sawhney, Peter Germanis, Spencer Adams.
This is the point of the show where we don't know how to read.
Robert Schaefer, T. Dan, Triple J Customs, Carl Thorpe, Melinda Atner, John Kodosky, don't worry about it, Kodosky, David Cheney, I might be going into ones that were from last week, David Loomp, Daniel Volstead, Benjamin Bodner, Nick Van Drew, and Ryan Davies. Yay. So if you want your name on that exclusive list, go to patreon.com/woodwhisperer.
Say my name!
And I'm going to give, looks like a new subscriber or a new patron, Vivek Sawhney.
Yay.
He had a great question about the hand planes, and I think we're going to give him the free guild project.
There we go. I will contact you via Patreon.
Yeah, baby.
So check that email.
Check out the email.
Check out the email.
Check out the email.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching.
Next week will be in the evening.
An evening show next week.
It'll be 8 p.m.
Man, that's going to be rough.
Mountain, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Very good, Nicole. You know your time zones.
Hopefully, our children
will cooperate. And the puppy.
And the puppy. Well, the puppy we can do. Just let him crap in here somewhere.
Yeah, that's what he does. It's just my shop.